Welcome back. We're now at part 2 of the OCS chemical engineering training for your on-site testing relative to local law 77. The tests we have to do again 3 times a week are the water chemistries. Those chemistries include pH, conductivity, temperature, and free chlorine. The test kits in front of me will handle all the tests we're going to need to do, so let's look at it first with the conductivity controller. This controller, or it's tester I should say, this conductivity tester will measure both our conductivity as well as our temperature. Simply remove the cap, press the bottom button. You'll then see figures illuminated on the screen. You dip it in your sample of water. That number will change. It'll come, whatever the number is, you simply record it and note it on the paper log sheets we gave you. If the number flashes, that means you need to multiply that number by 10. So if your value was 100 and it flashed, you'd multiply it by 10 and get 1,000. You then hold, while it's in the water, the middle button. It will then give you the temperature in degrees Fahrenheit, which you also record. Once done with that test, we've handled now both conductivity and temperature. We go on to handle free chlorine. You take one of these sample dip slides out of the kit, dip it in and shake it back and forth, approximately 20 seconds. In this case, we put a little extra chlorine so we can see it easily for you. And then compare that value, that color, to this chart. In this case, we're showing something around, I'd say 2.6, right about there. That would show a high level of chlorine at 2.6, which we would then note in our log sheets. If we got a value like that, we would then indicate that we have to decrease the amount of sodium hypochlorite we're adding so that we bring that number down. If the number was below our range of 0.5 to 1, we would then increase the feed of biocide, both manually or through the pumps, to then bring that number up. The next test we would do then is for pH. Again, take a very simple dip slide out, put it in the water, shake it back and forth, approximately 5 to 10 seconds, at which point you then pull it out, compare the color of this dip slide with the color here. In this case, it looks like around 6.0. 7 is a little bit too much, so 6.0. I would record the pH there as 6.0. Lastly, as far as testing goes, would be the testing we do for bacteria dip slides. This dip slide comes sealed. You should see it with no dots on it, which would mean it got contaminated somehow. Basically, you're going to take this out of the container, dip it in the water, back and forth 2 or 3 seconds, shake it off, put it back in the container, and then we want to incubate it for about 24 hours, room temperature. So put it in an office, someplace where you know the temperature stays about constant with room temperature. Once I see the results, the next day, 24 hours later, I would compare the number of dots on here to the number of dots on this chart. So if it looked like this, for example, I would record 10 to the 3rd colonies. There would be no action to be taken because I'm in good shape at either 10 to the 3rd or 10 to the 4th. We're going to work on our next section of this training just to show you how to fill in the paperwork that comes with this. Thank you.